Hello, everybody. I am Wrendi Mcdavid, and I teach at Fallsburg Elementary School. Fallsburg Elementary is a pre-K through 8th grade school, and I have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade social studies. And if you look at the handout that I'm passing out, has some of the information that I'm going to go over. Looking at my problem of practice, 53% of the students that I had, or that I have now, drank less than the recommended daily amount of water. And 48% of our middle school students do not use water fountains at all during the school day. Studies have shown that students that are not properly hydrated, they often experience fatigue, they can have, mental fogginess, and have a hard time concentrating and focusing. So I wanted to know, will a student that is properly hydrated perform better on school-related tasks? The first thing that I did for this is I gave my students a water consumption survey, and the results of that are on the back side of the handout that I gave you. And just a few things that I wanted to point out. The first chart that you see says, what concerns do you have about the water that you drink from school? And some of the kids said, it tasted bad, it's not cold enough, they think that the water fountain might be dirty. 7 students even said that other students might make fun of them for drinking from the water fountain. Some of the kids didn't have a container. Middle school kids, they make fun of other students for all kinds of things, but drinking water should not be one of them. I asked the students if they felt sleepy throughout the day. 33% of them were sleepy every single day. And then I had another 29% that were just sleepy during school days. One thing that I don't think that we really stopped to ever consider, we are an elementary school building, and our fountains are more accommodating to students that are smaller. And so I asked the students if any of them had a hard time bending down to reach the water fountains. And over half of them said yes. And as soon as I thought about this project, I thought, I've got one kid that is 6 foot, probably 4, and he has to curtsy and do a very odd position to get down to the water fountain. And I know that that's not comfortable for him, and I know he doesn't like to do that either. And then I asked the students to describe their skin. I wanted them to tell me if their skin, if it's oily, if it is dry, if they break out regularly. And so they're looking at me like, why on earth are you asking me all of these questions? None of these have anything to do with one another, but they do. And they all relate to how hydrated that the child is. I started paying attention to what the kids were drinking, and we had kids coming into school with energy drinks and kids coming in with pop, and we shouldn't be doing that at this age. I really feel like we should be pushing that water. And even as adults, when you go home, what are you seeing your parents drink? What's the adult at home drinking? What's your teacher drinking in the classroom? I think that there just needs to be a bigger push across the board to stay better hydrated. So I gave them that survey, and then a couple of weeks later, I gave them a pre-assessment. And the pre-assessment, they were math questions. They were math word problems. They were all 2-step, but they were really simple things that they had to do. It was multiplying and division and things like that. The results of that is on the front of the handout that I gave you. And 6% had 100, 4% had an 86, and 6% scored a 75. And the rest of them did not do very well on that at all. And they're like, why on earth are we doing this? What does this have to do with water? So this is my baseline data. I want to see those numbers go up. I want to see the children become more hydrated and use their new ability to focus on solving word problems and things of that nature. I'm ordering a water bottle refill station for the students, and it's going to go in the middle school hallway. This fountain has a cooler, so the water will be colder, and it also has a filtration system built in within it. It also keeps track of how many bottles of water that have been saved by coming up and using the refillable station. Do you guys know what a Visco girl is? You know what a Visco girl is. So all of my middle school kids right now want to save every turtle on earth. And I think that we'll be able to get a lot of kids on board because of that. I'm so glad you know what that is. I love it. And I'm also going to work with the health department to get bottles donated for us so that the students will have a container to use to fill up their water. The students are going to set their own daily water goal. And I hope to get the teachers on board with this too, so that we can be setting a good example for the students. Later on, we're going to retake those assessments, their self-assessment about their water intake. I'm going to have them kind of track and see how tired that they're feeling about a month before, just so they have a pretty good idea of whether or not they're seeing a difference with being more hydrated. And I hope to see better performance on classroom tasks and an overall improvement to their health and self-esteem. So do you guys have any questions?